Hey guys, welcome back to the Fly Focus podcast, where today we're talking to Brian Bateman with GMFS Mortgage, and he also has been a golfer aficionado. He's hosted a podcast radio show for a while on the Golf Channel. We got a lot to unpack, both with lending and professional sports and all that comes with producing a show week after week, just like we're doing. So I can kind of relate to that on the struggles for doing that. So anyway, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, buddy. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So I guess for everybody out there, just tell them a little bit background about who you are and kind of what you do.
So I'm currently a loan officer at GMFS Mortgage. Been doing it a little over 3 years now. My background, I was originally from Monroe, way up there in the northern part of the state.
Oh, I'm aware.
But I was born and raised there. I played golf at LSU in the mid-'90s to age myself. Turned professional soon after I graduated, actually the summer after I graduated, and played professional golf for almost almost 25 years. And transitioned out of that. I had some injuries and had a really good run. There's stories for days on tour life. But I had some injuries, and so it kind of knocked me out of that career, which fortunately pushed me into the media. And I started working at the Golf Channel. I was a studio analyst there, live TV. When that red light comes on in the studio.
Oh, I'm aware.
And you got a producer in this ear, and you got a director in this ear, and they're saying, check that camera, look here. You got 10 seconds, finish your thought. They throw you into the wolves. There's no training for that. But anyway, I did that for 5 or 6 years. I also had, as you said, I had a radio show on Sirius XM. So I was still involved with golf, although I wasn't playing.
Right.
My contemporaries and my peers were still playing, and the friendships and the connections were still there, which made the Golf Channel angle and the radio show easy to put together because of my connections. And then about 5 years ago, my wife and I decided to move back from Georgia back to Baton Rouge. And I soon after started working at GMFS right about the time COVID hit.
Yeah, so Monroe, let's get to Monroe. Let's start with Monroe. I grew up actually in Houghton, which is outside of Shreveport. Yep. So I was North Louisiana.
You're 318.
Yeah, I was 318 until I was like 6 or 7. So I don't really remember it. I grew up in Baton Rouge. Everything I remember is Baton Rouge boy. But I do have some roots up there, and we do sell actually a lot of houses up there, and we just got a contract on one last night up there in Monroe. So tell us a little bit about Monroe. When did you start playing golf up there, or high school? Or
I played all sports as a kid. But golf was the direction I knew fairly early age that was the direction I was going to go. Baseball was the first to eliminated that because it was in the summers. I was playing tournaments.
Sure.
So I couldn't play baseball.
Gotcha.
Was really never into basketball too much, but still played some high school football until the end of my freshman year. But as the golf progressed, I started playing more and more tournaments year round. Kind of like travel baseball these kids have now.
Right.
When we were growing up, you just played in the summer. Well, golf was kind of the same way, and then the scheduling for these junior tournaments started happening in the fall, and they were early spring, and so that eliminated the other sports. And by the time I was in high school, I knew that I was good enough, I loved it enough, I worked at it hard enough that it was probably going to take me somewhere in college. And I traveled the world as a teenager, which I have a 15-year-old now who does not play golf at all, but I can't imagine sending him out on an airplane on this day and age for 3 and 4 weeks at a time like I used to do. Yeah. It's just a different world now.
Well, I was a big tennis player, right?
Yeah.
And so I started playing tournaments young age and traveling around, and I ended up doing tournaments like you were saying, and won the state championship as a 7th grader, and had some college scholarships and stuff like that. But my parents had an opportunity to send me to a John Newcomb Tennis Academy.
Okay.
Full time, like go there and go to school. I mean, they were grooming you to go down the route of pro or college and they wouldn't do it. They didn't pull the trigger. They wouldn't let me do it, because they didn't want me to, lose out on my youth, and they also wanted me to be around, and they didn't like me to be out there on my own.
Yeah.
So the risk of that is real for parents, and sending your kids off like that, especially in this day and age.
I used to hit the road for 3 and 4 weeks at a time as a 15-year-old.
That's crazy.
And then we all did it. It wasn't just, I wasn't special, but that was the freedom that we had to play in tournaments. And, you learn so much about yourself growing up in that atmosphere, to be organized and how to, set your alarm, and you had to make your tea time and you had to practice. There was a lot of discipline involved at that age. And I think that helped me as I got older, the preparation and the self-consciousness of doing the right things and trying to, be professional about what I was doing, although I was a 15, 16-year-old high school kid, helped me as I got into college and then in professional as well.
Yeah. I mean, that discipline of day after day. I mean, when you're young, having that structure is extremely important, because most of the people around you don't have that, and if you can figure out a way to harness that, the younger you are, the better it can be. I wish I had the discipline I have now in my 20s. I kind of was I was kind of like wild and loose about 18 to 23. And the discipline, like I was really disciplined in tennis up until about 16, when I finally realized that I probably wasn't going to go pro. And it was after the John Newcomb thing. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. So why? And I kind of just, I really wish I had pushed as far as I could see I could take it.
Yeah.
Like you did. Like you went as far as you could possibly do and did what you did. I kind of gave up at 16, and I regret that. Because I don't know where that road would have taken me had I gone down it. Right. I was friends with, Jeff Brown, who was the LSU coach.
Yeah.
And he coached me up until I was 16, but then he couldn't coach me anymore because of NCAA rules. So he couldn't coach me anymore. And then, so it was like
rules.
These rules, these little NCAA rules. I mean, what are these things, So,
but look, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I sacrificed a lot during my high school years. I missed prom. I missed graduation.
And
like at LSU, when I was on the golf team there, we had a tournament, and I didn't get to walk at graduation. So, I mean, there were things that
I guess you're right.
They took you away from, I guess, normalcy at times, but it also, you were gaining so much by the experiences.
Yeah.
And, like when I was at LSU, I think my 4 years at LSU, the football team won 17 games total.
What years were you at LSU?
92 to 96.
Oh, God. Was that Curly Holman?
That was Curly.
Curly Holman, dude.
And DiNardo.
God, that was brutal.
Think about that.
No, but then 96
17 games in 4 years.
But you remember 96 is when we beat Florida I think it was 96.
That was 97.
97
when they were number one.
96
is when we beat Saban in the Independence Bowl in Shreveport.
Okay.
To go, I think 7-6.
Oh yeah,
and it was like we had absolutely won the national championship. Kevin Falk was on that team.
I remember. It was so cold that day.
Yeah,
I was at that. I was there that day. It was really cold, and I jumped over the fence. We stormed the field, and I remember hitting
at 7-6.
At 7-6, we stormed the field, and my when I jumped over the fence, my feet were so cold. You know how you have those needles, and I can remember just jumping down.
Those were the days, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even go to the games.
Yeah,
I mean that's how it was. Just and then obviously it's transpired since then, but. My experience at LSU was fantastic. Except now the baseball team was winning national championships left and right, but football was no bueno.
I tell you what, I bring Rivers to the baseball games all the time. He loves them.
Oh, I think they're fantastic.
Fantastic, and I'm so excited about what happened this year. Jay is doing a great job, and hopefully that continues.
That's going to continue.
It's going to continue, man. I mean, he's got the country's attention, which means he can get the recruits.
He's going to get anybody he wants.
He can get anybody he wants, and the people are going to put money. Businesses are going to put money behind it too. On the NIL side. So hopefully,
in the women's basketball, I mean, this is a great time to be an LSU sports fan.
It really kind of is. It's like you think
across
back,
the board.
You think back to the days of the Curly home, like where we were. Like, I mean, it's interesting what's transpired since Nick Saban, really, honestly, is the one that kicked it off. I mean, everybody can hate on Nick Saban all he wants. I was really upset when he left. I was like, man, I really want Nick to stick around. I did not want him to leave. I was like, this is a mistake. You need to pay this man some money. But he went to Miami, and
so I got a good story on that.
Yeah.
So one of my sponsors when I was on the PGA Tour was Wayne Huizenga, who owned the Dolphins.
Right. So
I wore Miami Dolphins gear on my shirt, which is a whole nother story because every tournament that we had, there was probably 95% of the tournaments we had, there was an NFL team within 50 miles. So here I am I'm a Louisiana kid with the Miami Dolphins logo, and we'd play in Boston, and I'd have Patriot fans yelling at me. We'd play in Tampa. We'd have the Bucks fans yelling at me. Denver. I mean, you can see. But anyway, long story short, Huizenga Wayne was a great guy, and he owned the Dolphins. So this is early 2000s, I guess. And he was the one that pulled Saban out of Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
As the owner of the Dolphins.
Right.
And so we were playing golf one day down in South Florida, and he told me, he said, your coach is about to be my coach. And I said, no, don't tell me that. He said, yeah, he wants to be in the NFL, and I'm the type of owner that I'm going to give him plenty of wiggle room. I'm not going to make any decisions. I'm not going to do anything. And sure enough, I thought he was just, because we had just won the national championship in 2003. And sure enough, he came up here, I think it was on Christmas Eve, whenever that was, 2005, and gave him autonomy for the entire organization and paid him a ton of money. And he left.
I know.
And I just couldn't believe it.
I was such a mistake.
And then he comes back and goes to Bama.
I mean, I was like, God, oh no, right? I mean, it didn't last long. And I mean, I didn't think that was a good decision on his part either, personally. But he created a legacy. He was going to create a legacy at any college football team he coached. So,
he has set the foundation for everything here.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely set there's no doubt he set the foundation for it all. To be honest with you, and luckily Les didn't mess it up too much.
He tried.
He tried. He did win one.
He did.
Yeah.
Played for another.
And so it's, can't hate on him. But I can't wait to see what Brian Kelly does, and hopefully this year.
So excited for what he's brought to the program, the stability, the no nonsense attitude. There's a balance there between a coach that the kids want to play for, but still respect. And I think he's got both of those nailed right here in Baton Rouge. Yeah, he wouldn't have come here from Notre Dame if he didn't think that he really had a chance to do special things.
Well, I mean, he's got the talent pool. He's got the infrastructure, the stadium, the fan base. I mean,
everybody's excited.
I'm going to be honest.
He's got the pressure, too, now.
Dude, that win, I was running the New York City Marathon the next day in Alabama. So I went to every single game. I go to every single game, and I wasn't in the stadium for the Alabama win. Can you believe that? It's so frustrating. But I was in New York running the marathon, so I didn't get to see that. But I was up. I was running at 6 a.m., watching the Alabama game last night at midnight in New York, knowing that I had to wake up in 4.5 hours. Oh. It's so worth it, though. It's so worth it. I was like,
a little spring in your step.
I know. I was like, I was jumping up and down, yelling and screaming. And Rivers and Julie are passed out next in the hotel room. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah,
it's an experience.
I mean, but that win had just given him the platform to expand on. I mean, with recruits, with everything, with the fan base. I mean, that win and that play call was super gutsy out to the tight end.
Well, he said afterwards, if he had one play to beat Alabama, he was going to go for it.
And I mean, who wouldn't, Like,
you have one play to win it. Let's go ahead and see if we can do it right now.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to take it down. I mean, our kicking game wasn't that great, and, who knows what's going to happen on the next series. And, I mean, I don't blame them for doing it. No. And they're going to make you do it anyway after
Yeah.
So it's like, why not just do it now and get it over with, because at some point it's going to come down to that anyway. You know what I mean? But, so I guess tell me a little bit about, the transition of being a college athlete into a pro athlete. How did that work out, or how did that transpire?
Well, I mean, golf is, you just turn professional. And once you start accepting money at tournaments, then there's no turning back, I guess. So you go from an amateur to a professional really just by showing up at a tournament, paying your entry fee, and saying, if I make some birdies this week, I'm going to keep every dollar that I make instead of having your amateur status. So the transition was not that difficult. I mean, I played 4 years at LSU, and then I turned pro, 2 weeks after I graduated, once the college season was over. And then I started playing in tournaments, traveling around, living out of a hotel room, kind of the same thing that I had been doing for so long. But you have to have the discipline to know that you might be hungry to better yourself and improve, but everybody you're playing against, regardless of the level, is doing the same thing. And if you don't put the time and the work in, you're going to get passed up.
Gotcha.
So,
a lot of work.
But I didn't know any different. I knew what my strengths were, my weaknesses were within my golf game. And so it was a constant balance, constant battle of trying to improve your deficiencies, but also trying to maintain the areas that were good. I mean, your mechanics. I mean, get back to tennis.
Right.
You work on your serve. You work on your backhand.
Sure.
You work on decision making, all that. Same thing with golf. You work on your short game. You work on your driver. Got to put the time in with a putter. But also playing in tournaments and being under the gun in competition, you learn a lot about yourself, and you got to have it up here just as much as you got to have it in your hand. So
golf is, man,
you got to try it for a living.
Golf is like, at least tennis, like it was wham bam. You only had the serve, hit, boom, make a decision. Like golf, you're like,
you got plenty of time to
think, ponder. Like in tennis, it's like it's coming at you 120 miles an hour. Guess what? You're just trying to hit it back, dude. And then you're trying to get to the next ball and hit it back. Hopefully get a point and win. All right, do it again. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot different than golf. You have to stand up there, think about it, look at the wind. There's a lot that goes into that.
And then you have 3 to 4 minutes after you hit the shot, as you walk to the next shot. That big window of time where you're that's when your brain starts moving, because you're already adjusting to wherever the result happened, wherever the ball ended up,
for us,
coming up with a game plan, and then having to execute without getting sidetracked and not negative thinking, or it's a mental grind.
It is
for 4.5 hours.
You got a lot to think about, and process for a long period of time, because there's a lot going on. It's one of the hardest sports to master in that regard, because there's just so much that goes into that mental side of it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a mental side to tennis too. Like, there was times where I was up 6-2, 5-2, 40 love, and then drop the set, dude. And it's like, and then had to come back. And how did I do that? Reset on the third set. I've had people cheat me, literally cheat me. Like when I'm talking cheat, I'm not talking about kind of cheat. I'm talking about the ball's 5 feet in and call it out so they can win the game. And then I had one guy at Southerns. I was in the quarterfinals, which was the top 8 in Southerns. Huge deal. This guy, I win the first set in a tiebreaker, right? We go, we play the second set, and I win the second set. So I'm like, go up to shake his hand. It's over. And he goes, no. He goes, I won the first set. I'm like, what? He was like, I won the first set. I was like, no, you didn't. Everybody here saw you didn't win the first set. You threw your racket down and sat down. You didn't win the first set.
Did he really think that you were not paying attention enough to think that maybe you lost the first
Plus,
set?
you could see his personality, and his parents are sitting right there. I look at his parents and I go, "Seriously, you're not gonna you're gonna let your kid get away with this?" I looked at his parents. I was like, "Your kid is cheating me out of a set. The match is over." I was like, it blew up. I mean, I like got blown up, and I'm like cussing, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, I don't even, I'm not gonna play you. It's over. It's over. And the rules official goes, "No, we have to go back to a point at which we both agree." And we both agree 5-5 in the tiebreaker for the first set. You won the second set, but we have to start over on the first set at 5. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, is that even in the rule book? Like, I mean, has this ever happened? I don't think it's ever really happened, right? And it was just a nightmare, dude. So tennis does have aspects of it. I mean, every sport does, but man, the aspect to the non-professional is those calling balls in and out in tennis is like,
where's the honesty and integrity with that?
Oh, dude, these people don't care. They just want to win.
They just want to win.
They're ruthless, dude. I mean, there are some people like I even had people on my tennis team in high school when we were winning state championship. Dude, he was playing singles. And he literally, the ball bounced in the middle of the court. He caught it and called it out and won the match. I was like, and he was the preacher's son. He was the preacher's son. Yeah. And this is what he's doing. Anyway, I probably shouldn't be saying that out loud. But but there's some people out there in tennis world that are, I'm sure, but in golf, I mean, you do have to call your own balls, and somebody got assessed a stroke the other weekend, right? On something they did.
Yeah,
I forget who that was.
Canada,
where the guy.
Well, he accidentally. He said he didn't realize he wrote down the wrong score on his scorecard.
Which, I mean, that can happen.
No, because he came out later and publicly said, I don't know what, something came over me. But I was not very honest.
Okay, I haven't paid attention.
Yeah.
So he admitted that he was
right. So it was deliberate.
It was straight up. I mean, everything's on TV now in the pros.
Well, this one was not. This was like a mini tour event.
Okay.
But it got a lot of publicity because of the blowback after he came on and apologized, and it was kind of like it's the same thing about you saying that your opponent calling a ball out that's 5 feet in or vice versa. His playing competitors turned him in because they saw his score that was posted and said, wait a minute, he didn't shoot 74, he shot 75. And so they went to the rules officials and they approached him, and that's when he said, "Oh, sorry, yeah, I was just trying to win."
Yeah. There is definitely people out there like when you're playing those tournaments, who's the guy that'll do that. And who won't, you know what I mean? They're straight up like you're playing this guy, you might get in trouble, yeah. But it is hard to make those calls too. Those balls are moving fast on the tennis
Well, sure,
court,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But so get back to your golf game. Like, what was your strength? You were talking about strengths and weaknesses. Like, what was your golf game like? Were you really good at, and what were your stuff you need to work on?
Ball striking was my strength. So tee to green, driver, irons, wedge play. My faults, and it's and I would tell anybody this that plays golf, my deficiencies were probably putting.
Yeah.
And what did I spend the least amount of time practicing? Putting. So, the old adage, you got to, it's in the dirt. You've got to work at it and practice and try to refine your weaknesses. I wasn't a terrible putter, but in golf, at the end of the day, you can hit it down the middle of every fairway and hit every green, but if you're not making the putts, you don't have much to show for it. And that's the area that if I had to go back and talk to myself as a 20-year-old,
right,
I would say spend more time on the putting.
Yeah, no doubt. That's when I go practice, I actually practice more on my chipping and putting than I do my other shot. I mean, I do hit drivers and wedges, and I'm definitely a scrappy player, not great, but I do practice those more because I know
it's going to come down to that.
Well, it's also that's where I can give up 3 shots instead of 2, or like there's more shots right there for me, for a player at my level. And I'm going to hit the driver where I hit the driver, and I'm going to hit the iron where I'm going to hit the iron. But that third shot in is really where it differentiates between a triple bogey or a bogey or a par.
Being efficient.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those first two shots are important, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to be the end. That's not going to determine my score that I write down 100% of the time. You know what I mean? So I always try to do that. But I don't see very many people do that. They always.
Well, it's because when you get to the golf course, a lot of times, you're rushed. You don't have a lot of time.
That's what yeah.
So you zip out of the parking lot, and you got to tee off in 15 minutes. So you go straight to the driving range and hit 15 balls, and then go straight to the tee without putting or practicing or chipping or any of that, because it's such a because golf takes a long time.
That's the only thing that gets me. That's why I haven't picked it up, man. Is
it takes a lot of time.
I played tennis growing up, so I'm not a golf guy growing up. So now, I'm that guy that's scrappy, that's never had lessons, and can make contact but it has probably terrible habits, and so but it's hard to commit to pushing at golf as an adult when you got a kid, a family, a job.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of time.
I mean, dude, it just takes a lot of time. Unless you were young and you were really good at it at a young age, it's like, I don't know, man. I guess you could do business out there on the golf course. A lot of deals get done on the golf course.
Golf is probably the best conduit for business.
I would agree.
Tennis, you're on opposite sides of the net. Golf, you have a lot of downtime. You're in the golf cart. You're walking down the fairway. The time between shots to talk business, to get to know the person you're playing with. Those relationships get built on golf courses. And I think that's why golf is professional golf and really amateur golf as well. But the charitable aspect of golf comes from the ability to build relationships, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's, some kind of charitable relationship, whether it's swapping stories and getting to know, personalities. All those things build the relationship that you have on the golf course. And you have a lot of time to visit. You have a lot of time to, talk about business or not talk about business or ask about the family. It's just, you grow so much on the golf course that I think that's why it's such a great conduit for business in general.
Yeah.
The time you spent, quality time you spend with somebody. Now,
I just need to tell my wife that. Can we put that back and put that on the thing, and let's let Julie know about that. Put that on social media. It's all about business.
It is business. I knew she'd be watching.
I'm just messing around. But it really is. And a lot of tournaments that give charity and other things. So it's a lot of cool stuff that's done on the golf course, raising money and getting people together for different causes and stuff like that. It definitely, and it's so pretty out there, right? I mean,
well, not when it's 112 degrees outside like it's been here for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah. So what do you think? I'm good friends with Jenny Peters.
Yeah.
You know Jenny.
Oh, yeah.
You know Jenny well.
Jenny.
And Roth McAllister. And we're actually, I've been in communication with them a little bit about the City Park golf course.
Yeah.
And they're talking about creating a City Park like rec area there and getting rid of the golf course and using it as an amphitheater, a jogging running path, pavilions, tennis courts, pickleball courts, and those type of things. Do you think, what are your thoughts on something like that as a golf person? Do you think, I'd love to hear your.
I'd hate to see that.
You'd hate to see that?
Not because of the reasons that you mentioned, but there's so much enjoyment from playing golf and having a golf course, whether it's father and son or father and daughter or husband and wife or business. But in saying that, I think Breck, there's a lot of tremendous golf courses within Breck and Baton Rouge.
That's my point. It's like, I think
so. It's not like that City Park would be the only course and you would lose that one venue.
I think you just need to take the capital that's invested in the City Park course and make Webb a true gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
some, like, I think there's too many balls being spread out and none of them are really great. Like, just being honest. Like,
Yeah.
I think, you know what I mean? Like, you get a lot of greens that are beat up or other things. I think there should be some consolidation of making Santa Maria a top course again with the greens, and then making Webb Park a top course, and using some of that capital from some of the areas and make 5 unbelievable golf courses instead of 8 that are,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but I to your point, the exposure and the distance between driving from your house, what does that look like? You know, but
That's the first I've heard of that, though. That's an interesting.
yeah, I'll send it to you after this, but I'm full disclosure, I'm in full support of doing something like that, because I think that a Central Park is key when you see cities like Austin, when you see cities like Chattanooga, when you see these cities that are forward thinking like Nashville. They all have cool walking centers or community centers in the heart of the city near water, likely, that are pretty, right? And they're restoring the lakes, right? So can they maybe capitalize off of the city park aspect and make it more of a park that pulls people in? Right now, it's been said that only about 20,000 people play that course a year. Could we have 20,000 people come to 3 concerts over a weekend in one weekend in City Park? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and use that space and then walk the lakes and see the prettiness of it, and then make Webb Park a top course that is drawing more people into play there, right? That actually has a full course, right? Instead of 9 holes, so I don't know. Anyway, food for thought. I just thought about that thinking there, because I didn't know if you had heard about that.
I've not heard of that. But in saying this, though, Barrett, that Webb Park, just in general, the volume of golfers that play that golf course, if you eliminated another venue, Webb probably takes as many golfers as they can. They're maxed out.
Are they?
Yes. So if you got rid of us of the City Park golf course, and then all the play, the 20,000, whatever it is, and expected them to be able to Webb to accommodate that would be pretty difficult.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Webb gets a lot of play.
Does it really?
For obvious reasons. It's centrally located. It's a fun course.
Right.
It's relatively inexpensive.
I guess these are discussions. That's why I brought it up. Because I haven't thought about that, on where that play would go and how it would be allocated. That's
you mentioned pickleball. What's your take on that? Is it a fad?
Pickleball. So I don't know if have you seen this meme about pickleball?
No.
Oh, it's so funny. It's like a pickleball instructor, and the pickleball instructor is like telling people, and he's like teaching people how to play pickleball, and you gotta dink your donks and donk your dinks, and you're not doing it right, and you gotta stay out of the kitchen, and he's like, I invested a lot of money in crypto and really got burned, man. This $150 an hour is doing really well for me, right? Because he's like teaching these people. He's like, it's amazing what people believe when they pay you $150 an hour. He's like, these people, and he goes, finally he goes, these people are too out of shape for tennis and too broke for golf, so they choose pickleball. I'm like,
but I have some friends that are just eating up with it.
Dude,
right now.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just joking.
I've never played. I've watched my friends play, but man, first of all, it's a hell of a workout.
I honestly, I like pickleball. I think it gets people out there, it gets them moving around, gives them exercise. I like to joke around because I'm a tennis player, and it's like you playing miniature golf or playing tennis. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it's like, why not just play tennis? But it's also a lot more enjoyable. You can play it with it. The reason why it's catching on so much is it equalizes the playing field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't hit the ball. I don't know if you know about the ball, but it's hard. And then the racket is hard too. So you can only put so much spin on it. When I cut it and I can still do a little bit of spin, but it's not like I can do with a tennis racket and make it pop up to your head. I mean, I can't do as much with the ball that I could do with the tennis ball. And so it levelizes the playing field. And obviously a shorter court, smaller court means that people aren't as fast can play it on the same level that people that are in shape.
That's a good point.
And so it just equalizes the playing field on numerous levels because of the ball, the paddle, and the size of the court with the in shapeness of the player.
It is popular as ever right now.
Oh yeah, but it's also like social media. It's like, and I mean, I do love that. We used to play mini tennis all the time. It's basically mini tennis. That's what we used to play mini tennis all the time. You know, whenever we were little, and then even when we were younger, we would practice mini tennis. We'd use the service courts, and then just use that and rope it off with the net, and then we'd get a tennis ball and play it, and it was fun. You know, so I mean, that was before even we knew what pickleball was. So we played mini tennis when I was growing up all the time. Even as
will it make it to the Olympics, you think?
I don't know.
I could see it being an Olympic sport.
Yeah, probably. It'll I mean, I think it'll get as big as any other sport.
Yeah.
I do believe it will. It's catching on a lot.
Oh man.
But I you know what I say? I say we turn some of these old malls into some pickleball courts and have bars and a music venue up in there and have pickleball. I bet you people, I mean,
great. It's kind of like Topgolf, but
dude, it's like
for pickleball.
But pickleball inside all these places that are empty and these stores going out of business, rip it all out, put pickleball courts in, open up, put a beer tap, call it a day. You know what I mean? I bet you that's going to come to a city near you, and because it also could be indoors, which means that you don't have to worry about the rain, the heat, any of that stuff, and then you can know when you want to play pickleball or not play pickleball. You know, I bet you that's going to happen soon. You're going to start seeing that pop up places.
It's popular enough. I could see that happen.
Yeah, it's definitely popular enough. And I just think it's just people can play it so much. You know, have you played it?
No, I've seen it. I've watched my friends play.
Do you play tennis at all?
No.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
that was.
So it's kind of like golf or tennis. Like it was like kind of like which way do you go? And
well, I think as a young kid, you know, if you had the exposure to one or the other or both, you'd have to pick one.
Yeah. I guess that was the other question I didn't ask you. Do you have family that were golfers, or who exposed you to golf? Because I want to get my kid started on golf, but I'm like, you know, obviously I'm not a huge golfer.
Yeah, my father played. I had family members that played. I just grew up around. All my friends played. I mean, it was just it's what we did in the summertime.
Okay.
And I started taking lessons pretty young, 8, 9, 10 years old.
8, 9, 10. So you started.
So
that was my question. Is like, when should I start him on it? Because
it's never too late.
We play in the yard right now with wiffle balls and balls. And I have him striking already, and I have a putting green. I'm already, he's
laying the groundwork.
I'm laying the groundwork. You know what I mean? You saw him that time at the putting for Pinot thing.
Yeah.
Remember
right.
you taught him how to putt one, and he was at that party. So, but he's getting pretty good at it. He can hit the ball. He makes good contact.
Keep it fun.
But I'm just trying to keep it fun at this point, but I'm like, am I creating too many bad habits?
No.
No. Okay.
Get him out there.
Just
Exposure.
Exposure. Okay.
Exposure, yeah.
He likes it. For sure. And we watch the tournaments on the Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
Put it on TV. He loves it. Yeah. But he wants to hit the ball. But I'm scared he's going to take out my car soon. You know what I mean?
That'd make you so proud though if that happened,
dude. Or he's hitting it across my yard. I'm like, take it easy, buddy. And the next thing I know, he's whacking it. Some lady's gonna be walking down the street with her dog and get nailed in the head, dude. I'm gonna get sued. Yeah, yeah. Might have to start taking him to actually the course. You know.
Yeah, take him to the driving range somewhere and let him.
Well, we live at that LSU one. It's like 5 minutes away. You know. But everybody's been talking about how bad that course is that I've heard. Everybody's downplaying how bad that LSU course is right now.
University Club?
Not University Club. The one by the baseball stadium.
Oh, right there by the baseball stadium. Well, that was our when I was at LSU, that was our home course.
That was where I played a lot. I used to play there all the time.
That's
in my
back
20s.
before they had now it's got parking and RV for football games, and they lost about 5 or 6 holes on that side of Nicholson. that used to be there.
Oh no,
Where walk-ons is.
Oh
and
yeah,
that
my
used to be-
first my first eagle was on one of those holes. I got an eagle. Yeah,
You remember that, don't you?
I do.
You always remember the good ones.
The good, yeah. I remember the eagle. It was a par 5, and I roped it. Hit my second shot within like 2 feet. It was an easy eagle. It was like one of those tap-in eagles. Could have been a double.
Could have been a double eagle.
Could have been a double. On a good day. I've never gotten a double eagle, but I'm sure you have. Have you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are rare. Those are more rare than holes in one. Because the shot is normally it's a 2 on a par 5, so it's a longer club, it's a longer distance. Double eagles are rare.
I mean,
you make a hole in one with a 100-yard par 3.
Yeah, you can make a hole in one with a 9-iron. I mean, you gotta make a double eagle with a 3-wood.
3-wood or get something long.
You know what I mean? A little harder to hit. That club face is a little harder to hit.
A little bit smaller.
Not as forgiving.
No.
What do you think about golf clubs? Have they changed over the years?
Oh gosh, yes.
Like, I mean, has that technology?
Just in the last 10 years. The 10 years that I've been out of the professional ranks has changed. It's an arms race between all of these equipment companies trying to not only market their products, but also to stay up with the other companies with technology. Whether it's a driver that's has this huge head on it with a huge sweet spot. Then you have the shaft companies that certain shafts match up better with certain driver heads. Graphite shafts in your irons, which makes the wear and tear on your wrists and your hands because they're lighter, they're softer. The golf ball itself and how far it's going these days. In 10 years' time, I would say it has changed as much as any other 10-year window going back, 50, 60 years. And it's going to continue to, you would think they could only do so much with equipment, but there's always some type of...
Oh, it's unbelievable. Even the tennis...
Some technology expert, genius, guru that sits in a room and tests golf balls and tests launch angles off of the club face and the softness and how hard it is. Because they're always looking for the next thing.
No doubt. Yeah.
I mean, really the only thing you can't change is a putter. But even putters have gotten into the technology with weighting and shafts and grips and bigger grips. Is a bigger grip better for your hands? Does it take your hands out of the stroke? So, I mean, the news for the professional guys now is that they have access to the best equipment and the best technology.
I say it's also the technology for those guys that are tracking what they're doing and how they're doing it and how to correct it. I mean, it used to just be someone behind you, standing you, watching you. Now it's like a computer image of your swing.
Yeah,
and
they have
the
it's
ball
called a launch monitor.
I mean, it's like it's everything.
Spin,
ball speed, everything. I mean, they know everything they're doing, and they can like correct it on the fly, and they can look at past data. And I mean, dude, it's unbelievable.
I'm so old school though. I think that would confuse me, honestly.
It's too much to keep track of.
Too much. I mean, I barely remember what club I used on the last hole. I can't remember a wedge smash factor angle from last week's practice session.
Are you just more like a John Daly grip it and rip it type of guy?
No, I mean, I there's some thought that goes into or did go into my golf game, but the technology now and the information is just a little bit overload for me.
Do you still play a lot?
I play here and there.
So, because for me, like tennis, I don't play as much anymore because I'm like, I'm never going to be as good as I once was. Like, and I don't mean to say that like as a thing, but my serve is never going to be 135 miles an hour again. And I'm never going to be able to kick it up and hit the top of the fence like I used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My legs are just not going to come up and hit that ball down and do that, And I'm like, but I still like to play every now and then, but rarely. I haven't been playing regularly.
Well, you have to play at a high level. You have to put the time in, and if you don't have, the energy to do that or the want to do that, and that's the problem I have with golf is that up here I still have standards for how I want or think I should play. but I haven't put the time in to meet those
No
standards.
doubt.
And so because there's no, and I tell people this all the time, they're asking me, do you play much? Yeah, I play here and there, but I did it for so long as a business. There was a finish line. There was an end game involved with the practicing and the tournaments coming up and the scheduling and so forth. When you lose the result or something to work towards, at least in my case, I just don't have the energy to go out and get some fresh air and hit golf balls on the driving range. Because forever, there was a reason I was out there. And I'm not saying it wasn't because there was some enjoyment involved, but there was also the business aspect of it. And I don't have the business aspect anymore. So I can think of better things to do, honestly.
Right, no doubt. I mean, it comes down to you've hit so many of those balls, you've done so much of that, and at some point it's tough. Tough to get as motivated as it once was.
Motivation,
for me.
yes.
I mean, but to your point, I could probably get back to it close to if I went and played 4 or 5 times a week and, all of that, and then hit buckets of serves like I used to. I mean, I used to hit serves. I'm talking about, I hit serves for an hour and a half, like, I mean, it was
one after the other.
One after the other. I'm talking about because it was like, I'm a big dude, right? So if you're going to, I'm not trying to play you and hit 20 balls. I'm trying to play you and hit 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wham, hit a serve. Wham, hit a forehand. Wham, hit a volley. Wham, hit an overhead. It's over. That's what I want. I'm not going to sit back there like Djokovic and sit and run around, because if not, dude, I'm gonna fall over. You know what I mean? Like, so my serve was a big part of my game, and so I'd hit buckets and buckets and buckets and things, man.
You had to.
Had to.
That's how you're going to improve.
Yeah, and hit the ball where you want it to be, And if you don't put that time in, So I guess what if you were going to tell an amateur golfer what's the best thing they could do to impact their game and improve it like that?
Short game, number one. If you can, the quickest way to lower your score without taking lessons, without improving or correcting your golf swing, the easiest way to knock 2 or 3 strokes off of your score is when you're around the green, be as efficient as you can. In saying that, that doesn't mean you have to get up and down for par every time. But if you're in a bunker, get it out of the bunker on the green, 2-putt, make bogey or par, and get out of there. Don't try some shot you saw on the Golf Channel that you've never tried before and leave 3 in the bunker and then knock one over the green and then make a 9 when you could have easily made a 6. And we haven't done anything different other than know your expectations, be realistic. Don't think you're better than you are, but just be efficient and try not to give away strokes.
Right.
3 putts.
Right.
4 putt. No. Let's try to 2 putt. The 3 putts happen, so forth. But you do that once or twice around, that's the difference between shooting 90 and shooting 85.
I know. That's why I always.
That's the difference between shooting 45 on 9 holes or shooting 42. Just by being a little bit smarter with your short game around the greens.
Yeah, but if you shoot 9 on a hole, then you can relax and drink beer all day.
Drink beer? Well,
you know what I mean? So,
it depends on if you want to improve or not.
I'm just messing
No.
around. I'm trying to make you laugh.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's. I guess a tennis analogy would be, don't chase that forehand down the line.
Right.
You don't have to hit the line, but maybe stay to it, not be quite as aggressive. And I think golf is the same thing when it comes to your improving your score, is just be more efficient and try to stay away from those wasted shots.
Yeah. I think that is the key. I mean, that's something that I tried to work on whenever I was really trying to get my game better. I probably should have ponied up for some lessons on my swing too.
I'm available.
You know what I mean? If I ever get back into the business side of it,
There's so much business involved with golf.
Dude, I would agree.
You would say that again?
Yeah.
There's golf and business are hand in hand.
They are hand in hand, man. So let's talk about the transition, I guess, from you ended professional career, went into the sports radio talk show. What was it like producing a show every week? Like, how was that?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I did it remotely. I had all my equipment. I could, travel with it, so I could do a show out of a hotel room. I could do it from my house. I could do it from a golf course. I could go to someone else's house to do an interview. It was fun. It was something that I had to learn.
Right.
But getting in and out of breaks and doing live reads and having your producer count you down. You got 10 seconds. You're in the middle of a sentence, and you got to figure out a way to sound professional, but not leave yourself hanging and stop too many seconds short or go over, especially on a hard break. But I enjoyed it. The interaction, the interviews that I did with friends that were playing on tour at the time, some other industry leaders, equipment guys, or caddies, because caddies always have great stories.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
So the interaction and the conversation was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is fun having conversations like this and getting to know people and then hearing backstories, whether that's golf or real estate or whatever it is. It's sharing those stories and getting to hear people and meet people is a lot of fun. I definitely think you need to do something like that. I think Baton Rouge needs a little bit of a show like yours where it could highlight golf and sports and stuff like that. And I definitely think it could be a way to leverage GMFS and your business and grow it, right?
Yeah, I've thought about using that as a conduit to grow business.
Oh, there's no doubt, because if you could bring people on and talk to things, and I mean, that's just the same thing we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to see this. They're going to be like, oh, Barry does podcasts, Barry does this. And then we'll chop up some small things. And the next thing you know, they're talking about me and real estate, right?
Yeah.
even though we talked about golf for 45 minutes, they're going to know that you're doing lending and I'm in real estate, and it's connected, So it's like, it's interesting. It doesn't always have to be exactly about what you lending for you to get the benefit of it.
People love to talk. They love
visiting.
They love
they do
the stories. They love golf is really, there aren't many sports that you can relate to as an amateur watching someone on tournament on Sunday, like you said,
right.
You and your son. Not many people can hit a return Federer serve, okay? But you can sit here and watch a guy make a 10-footer to win the golf tournament, and it's relatable because you just made a 10-footer 2 or 3 days ago to beat your buddy in a 9-hole match.
Right.
Or to save par or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that's the part I think that golf is so relatable, which, going back to what we talked about a little while ago, that's why it's been such a great avenue for business relationships, personal relationships, the venue for that, the platform for that, because golf is just such a relatable sport.
Yeah. So let's talk about business now.
Yeah.
So you transition, you're doing the radio show, and then how did you transition into lending and GMFS, and what made you go that direction?
I was introduced to T. Brown, who's our president, CEO of GMFS. Had known him sparingly through the years, but when we moved back from Georgia, right when COVID hit.
Oh, so you started this right when COVID hit.
Yeah. And, COVID getting into the lending industry, rates were historically low. The government, the Fed was lowering rates, interest rates, which gave people the opportunity to refinance. It was just a great opportunity to still be around people. And T approached me and offered me a position as a loan officer at GMFS. Todd Jackson is another loan officer there who actually had done a refinance for me when we moved back. And he introduced me kind of to the system and said, look, it's the Wild West right now because rates are so low. The opportunity is there.
Right.
And I had transitioned out of the Golf Channel doing TV down in Orlando, and my radio show had ended, and honestly was looking for something to do. And I thought it was a great opportunity to get into an industry that helps people.
No doubt.
And our, GMFS, our mantra is changing lives. And the mortgage industry is about changing lives. GMFS is about changing lives because, as you know, the biggest asset that you have is home ownership.
Right.
And when you can give some direction to people and you can point them in the right direction and save them some money, whether it's on a refinance or help them find a home and make the process to get to the closing and get it buttoned up and hand the keys over, when you can make that process smooth and reliable and seamless, it makes a difference in people's lives. And, funny thing about when COVID hit and I got into the industry, forbearances were up. Mm-hmm. People weren't working.
Right.
But you had these opportunities from the government. They were extending all of these forbearance options for people because we weren't working. You couldn't, or a lot of us weren't working.
Right.
So, but the rates were so low that the refinance market was through the roof. Purchases were still there, but showing a house was different.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Everything was virtual.
It was virtual. We developed all this software for virtual tours and Falia FaceTime, where you could actually connect on our app and do a FaceTime with a buyer and show them the house through your cell phone. It was kind of an interesting thing that we developed, but at the end of the day, people want to see a house in person, man, before they buy it. But it was a necessity for the time being. At that point, we didn't know how long that was going to go on, and if it was going to become a norm. So it was definitely interesting dynamic. I mean, we launched, just so we launched right in March 2020, like March 1st, 2020. The government shut down 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
Yeah. So that's what we went through when we started this company. So it's been an interesting roller ride of is the real estate market going to survive? And then 2021 just started going gangbusters, and then we are where we are today with the interest rate increasing. How do you think that is affecting the market at this point?
Oh, it's still people ask all the time, where are we on rates? And from everything we're reading, from everything we study and we hear, that there's going to be some improvements in rates.
Yeah.
They're, as of today, they're around 7.5%. But 20 years ago, they were at 7 or 7.5%.
Right.
The problem with the shock factor is they were 2.5% 18 months ago.
That's the kicker.
And that just, the difference between something recent memory, very recent memory, the recognition of where rates were and where they are now, that's why it's so 7%. Oh my goodness. But we're even to where we were around 2000. But we're going to see some improvement. I really do believe that. Will we get back down to where historically low rates? Never happen again. That was Disney World, and it was a great run. But I can easily see rates getting back down, well, probably where they should be, 4.5%, 5.5%.
Yeah. It's we'll see what happens. I definitely think the rates going up has impacted the real estate market. I mean, the transactions are down 35% year over year. Sales prices are still holding strong at even or plus a couple points. So you haven't seen the price drops in Louisiana that you have across the nation. But it's definitely impacting it. I mean, the bottom line is people don't care. They don't care what the rate is. You know what they care about? The payment.
Yeah.
And so what controls the payment?
The rate.
The rate and the purchase price.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So the rate's going up. The purchase price is not going down. So you're having an increase in the monthly payment. See what I'm saying?
Well, it's the affordability factor.
It is. I mean, I'm telling you, like a $600,000 house is now costing you like $5,000 a month or $4,000. You know what I mean? It's like, it's high. And you're talking $5,000. That's after tax money.
Yeah.
So you're talking about somebody's got to make about $8,000 just to afford their house a month. You know what I mean? So, but rewind 12, 18 months ago, that would have been like $2,200.
Right.
$2,200. Now, I mean, who can't afford that? You know, all these people come into the market. So the higher end market is just that $600,000 market range, $700,000 market range is getting hammered, you know, because it's the people that would typically move up are locked into the 3% interest rate,
Right.
and they've got a $1,200 mortgage, and they want to move up to the forever home, but they're gonna have to go from $1,200 a month to like $5,000 a month or $4,000.
And that's a huge
Huge jump.
Yep.
And people can't wrap their head around it. The only thing that's going to change is life situations, birth of a baby, divorce, death. Those things will push the market in that way, and we're still seeing sales. So it's not like negative. I mean, there are sales happening, but there's so much pressure on the market due to the rates, and then the rates and the price not correcting. The price is not corrected yet in Louisiana, so you get high rates without a price drop. You know, so we'll see what happens.
One good thing about that is, though, when you talk about rates where they are now and the levels, that it's still an opportunity, if you can, to make that purchase and then entertain or at least discuss the possibility of a refinance in a year when rates improve. Yeah. You don't want to miss out on the forever home just because of where rates are.
Well, the way I explain it is this, right? You don't want, if you want to make the move, if you need to move into a new house and your family needs a new house, don't let the rate as long as you can afford the payment, right? You need to be able to afford the payment, have reserves, don't do anything crazy, but you're basically protecting yourself from the rate going to 9, 10, 11. What if that happens? You should have bought a year ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the people that are looking at it now that were complaining earlier this year that rates were at 6.5 or 6 are probably shooting themselves in the foot that they didn't make the move. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? There's no point in waiting if you can afford it. The key is, can you afford it? And you need to be realistic with it, whether you can afford it or not. And that's why they need to go talk to someone like you, get pre-approved, understand what it's going to take, what the monthlies are going to look like, and that they can get comfortable with that. I think a lot of people, they get on Zillow, they get on Realtor.com, they just start looking for houses, and they don't engage a lender, and they don't really know what they're doing, right? Talking to someone like you is extremely important.
Well, that's our job as loan officers, is to educate, direct, give information, so a buyer has everything they need to make the right decision, because buying a home is a huge decision, and to know your parameters, to know, like you said, what the monthlies are looking like. What if I put this much down? If I put a little bit more down, does that help me with the rate? Talking to myself or other loan officers, that's our job, is to educate and make sure that our customer has all the information necessary to make the right decision. Yeah. And that's what we do at GMFS every single day.
Yeah. So do y'all have any cool programs or things that you're pushing a lot that you're seeing people utilize a lot at GMFS or overall in the market? Or is there a loan type that you're seeing people gravitate towards or anything that they're using?
I would say that we're seeing a lot of debt consolidation type cash out refinances.
Got you.
All right. So to explain that, we have the United States has the highest credit card debt. I think it's over $1 trillion now, ever. People on the tail end of COVID or whatever, when they weren't working, they used credit cards. And so one way to offset the payments or get rid of these 20% interest rates on your credit cards is to do a cash out refinance. Use the equity in your home to get some money out to pay off these debts. Now, you would say, wow, why would someone refinance right now when they have a 3% rate? Why do they want to jump into a 7% rate? Well, when you combined your mortgage payment and then all these credit card debts and all these high interest rate debts that are 28% 18, 20, 25%. When you put it all in a big gumbo pot, your payment actually goes down. Now, your mortgage might go up, but your overall money leaving your pocket between your mortgage and all your credit cards goes down. Right. And so we are seeing a lot of cash out refinances. Now, the hard part is convincing people or explaining to them what I just said, in that don't be locked in on the 3% mortgage rate going to 7%.
Got you.
And your mortgage going up $1,500 a month. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to take the equity that you have, the cash that you have that you'll get from the refinance to pay off these credit card debts. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have those debts at all. So, yes, your mortgage payment went up, but your overall debt went down.
Got you. And your monthly payments on that debt went down, right? So, that's interesting.
So we're seeing that.
That's something I didn't know. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of seller concessions in the form of closing costs or rate buy downs. That's what I'm seeing a lot on purchase agreements right now to try to, make the market move or get the buyers to where they need to be on their monthly payment, right? So that they can put more money on the down payment or put more money to where their monthly payment makes more sense, or have the 2-1 buy down or these other things that can help the rate for the first couple of years. But ultimately you need to be comfortable with that end rate. You know what I mean? Because you can't guarantee that you're going to refinance, right? And so you've got to make sure that you're comfortable with that monthly payment. It's extremely important. Yeah. But I guess, is there anything else that you've been seeing in the market as far as loans or anything that y'all been doing?
I mean, we're trying to. This industry right now is difficult.
It is. That's why I was asking if there's some like loan packages that I'm not aware of.
Well, the 2-1 buy downs and 3-1 buy, we've seen some of those, which helps the buyer and the seller. It's a good product for both ends. The cash out refinances have been good. We're seeing, the government loans, FHAs and the VAs, the rural development, the USDA loans, where there's less that you have to put down. It's less down payment. Those programs have been really good. Yeah. Because that's less money out of your pocket for the down payment, but it still gets you qualified. But really, Barrett, it's just a matter of trying to make it through this tough time for the economy, for our industry, for your industry. Yeah. And we got some elections coming up in the fall.
I agree.
There's going to be some movement.
I was talking to somebody.
And I really think that the improvement is going to come in interest rates. I don't know that I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think that they're about as high as they're going to be.
I was talking about that on a run the other day with somebody. I was like, you can book it that the real estate market is not going to start booming until after the election, even if there's just no way around it. In an election year, it's never good. And then we got the presidential election next year. I'm like, honestly, we got 18 months till it gets better. In my opinion, I'm just being honest. If I'm being completely transparent, I don't think it's getting better till after the presidential election next year. That's just my gut. I wish it was sooner, and a lot of people, but that's how I feel. Yeah. I think that's what's going to end up happening. And unless they try to manipulate the market and make it seem better and lower the rates for the election, which that could be done. So I don't know.
I really think.
You think they're going to lower the rates low enough to make a huge impact before the election? They might do that. I could see them do that, right?
A little trickeration.
I mean, if they drop, I guarantee you, if they drop it into the 5s, you'll see the real estate market go bonkers. If it drops into the 5s, everyone will be unleashed and it'll go wild.
It's not going to hurt my business either.
No, if that happens and it gets into the 5s, you better buckle up because it's going to be on. I'm telling you.
You and I'll be playing a lot of golf.
Yeah,
business,
doing business, baby. Got to do business, man. All right, man. Well, I enjoyed chatting with
fantastic.
You. Yeah, man. Is there anything you want the people to know about you or your business or how to contact you?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be on here, and I think this is a way for me to get my name out there as a loan officer and get GMFS's name out there as well. We change lives every day, and we're located right here in Baton Rouge on Florida Boulevard at the corporate office. We have some other satellite offices as well. But yeah, you can contact me. I'm at GMFS. My cell number and my office number are pretty much the same. I answer both, but my office number is 225-514-5048. Yeah, look me up. We have a really nice website. We take care of our customers. One great thing about GMFS is that we do everything in-house. Right. So as a buyer, to get to the closing table is key. And we make that process, as smooth as we can. We originate in-house, we underwrite in-house, we process in-house, and we service in-house. So you're dealing with me directly. Right. And because of that, that makes the entire loan process, which is scary to some people because they don't know how to get to the closing, that allows that process, we allow that process to be as seamless as we can. So yeah, look me up. I'd love to help you out on a purchase or a refi or any questions. We have a great team, a great foundation, and we've been here for over 20 years, and we're very proud of what we do for the community and how we help people get into that next home.
Yeah, I would say the people that are watching may not understand how important that in-house deal is, but a lot of these people that you think are doing your mortgages, they're outsourcing them to third parties in different states, and they have underwriters, and the underwriters have different policies than the mortgage broker, and they're not really able to control the process and make it smooth. And there's a lot of back and forth there. And so to go to someone that handles it from end to end is extremely important. And I think most home buyers are just like, it's a loan, get it anywhere. I would argue that that is not the case. You definitely need to be working with a reputable mortgage broker, someone that knows the ins and outs, and honestly is backed up by good processing on the back end.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to, is that core team that he's talking about behind him is who actually really rams it home and makes sure that it's a seamless selling experience. And then they also have really good updates. I would say with GMFS and has really good updates that tells you what's happening when, and it kind of makes the user experience really clean. And so I do want to echo that. Coming with a local mortgage broker is extremely important.
Well, we're the largest residential lender in Louisiana, and there's a reason why. That we take care of our customers, and the team, as I like to call it, whether it is under our underwriters or our processors or our servicing department, we're all on the same team, and because of that, that makes referrals and return business that much more doable, because the experience of going through something like this should not be difficult, and it's our job or my job to make sure that it's as easy as it can be done, and it gets you to the closing table quickly as well.
That's what we want, man.
Right.
Selling houses and making people happy. You know what I mean? So, well, I've enjoyed it, Brian, man. It's been great talking with you, man. Look forward to continuing the conversation.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely get this out there and hype you up, man, and excited to see what happens.
Thank
All right, guys. We'll see you next time on the Flya Focus podcast. Hey, guys, I wanted to take a second and say thank you for watching the Flya Focus podcast. At Flya, we are reimagining the way real estate is bought and sold. So we need all the love and support we can get to grow our movement. Please tell all your friends and family about all the great things that we have going on here at Flya. Please like, share, and subscribe to all of our content, and we'll see you next time on the Flya Focus podcast.